whatever it might be, I'd be leaning towards the over.
Love that call as well. Definitely check out what Dennis is going to throw your way. He puts out a DFS lineup via Butt Fumble Sports every weekend. So before our kickoff on Saturday, hopefully by Friday night, we'll be able to show that to you so you can have your lineup set for Saturday. But that said, make sure you don't miss Dennis's DFS lineup. He crushes it every week, does such a great job, and puts in so much research. Definitely appreciate all that you do, Dennis. Let's go to the next game, and this one is the first game in the 4 p.m. window on Saturday. The 7-6-1 Washington Commanders fly out west to play the 10-4 San Francisco 49ers. This game is on CBS. Where I see it, the 49ers are a 7-point favorite, and the total is set at 39 points. Commanders are 5-0 against the spread in their last 5 Saturday games. The 49ers are 9-2 against the spread in their last 11 home games, and the road team is 5-1-1 against the spread in the last 7 meetings between the Commanders and the 49ers. The under is 5-1 in the last 6 meetings, and the under is 4-1-1 in the Commanders' last 6 road games. Adam, what are your thoughts about Commanders and 49ers?
Well, I think it's a big game for both teams. Defensive battle. Washington obviously needed that game last week against the Giants and didn't get it done. Brock Purdy's been playing good, just good enough for San Francisco, minimizing mistakes and letting the talent around him do the work. San Fran is 6-1 at home this year, and they do have a little extra rest since they had that win against Seattle last Thursday night. And to me, -7 again, we talk about all the time. That's just too much to pay for me. So I'm looking at the over/under on this game. And I think you have San Fran sitting right now with a solid defense. First against the rush, 13th against the pass. And as I said before in previous weeks, Washington's defense has been playing better. I know they stumbled last week against the Giants, but they are 8th against the pass and 12th against the rush. So to me, I'm looking at the under in this game. I buy it up over 40.5 to 41. Washington's last 4 games also have gone under the total. The only question mark for me in this game, and I'm actually kind of surprised, is there was a little bit of chatter yesterday and doing a little bit of reading this morning that Wentz's name is kind of getting thrown around here. That if Heineke struggles in the first half, there's a possibility that Carson Wentz can come in this game. So I was really kind of, get you guys' thoughts on that and what you think that may look like. But for me, buy this up to 40.5 or 41 and take the under.
I haven't heard anything about that, Adam. I would be really surprised. I feel like the clubhouse, the locker room is firmly behind Heineke. I also think just statistically, look at the record, he's been the better quarterback. I'd be really surprised. But then again, Ron Rivera, Riverboat Ron, he gambles when everyone else plays a conservative. So maybe he's looking to light a fire under his team after a loss last week. That said, they didn't lose by that much. And if the refs had called that game appropriately, maybe they wouldn't have lost at all. So I wouldn't lean away from Taylor Heineke if I'm Ron Rivera. But you never know with what's going on in Washington, craziest franchise in the NFL. Lope, what are your thoughts on what Adam put out there? And what are your thoughts on a game pick and spread for this one?
Well, if it is true, I would assume that Rivera's got to be feeling some kind of pressure where he thinks that if he doesn't make the playoffs, he might not be coaching this team next year. That would be my only explanation. But I think he's kind of made his bed with Heineke. I think he's just got to live with it at this point. As for that, I think they're desperate enough, and I think the spread at +7 is something that this is still a good Washington team. I know they had a letdown against the Giants. There was some calls that didn't go their way, but I'll take the points. And I think we talked about it. 2 good defensive teams, probably going to have each other's numbers. So I'm going to have a slight lean to the under.
I agree with you, Lope, and I thought that was a great point you just made. And maybe Ron Rivera feels like if he doesn't make the playoffs, that's the end of his tenure at Washington. So, yeah, maybe a late season quarterback change just because he's feeling the heat. That would be the only reason that would make sense to me. But even then, I would stay with Heineke. I feel like he's the better chance to actually get you into the playoffs. Anyways, going to the Butt Fumble Sports pick for this one between the Commanders and the 49ers. Much like Lope said, I feel like Washington is a better team than what we saw on Sunday night against the Giants. I think a lot of things went against that team in that game. I like Washington to bounce back and cover in this game. I do like the 49ers on the money line, but Washington +8.5 after I buy it up. I feel like that's a great play. I feel like it's going to be much more competitive than a touchdown spread. So getting it at +8.5, I feel really good about that. And much like Adam and Lope also alluded to, I like the under in this one. two good defensive teams. I know Brock Purdy has kind of shown out offensively in ways I certainly didn't expect, but I do think this game is going to be more about the defenses. So I like the under 40.5 after I buy it up. Dennis, from a fantasy standpoint, Christian McCaffrey, is he our favorite player from this game? And on the other side, I really don't like Brian Robinson or Antonio Gibson this week. They're must-sits for me, given they're going up against the 49ers run defense. So does that mean Terry McLaurin is a better play?
Okay, so multifactorial question here. I agree with you. I don't understand why Brian Robinson doesn't get the ball more. It seemed like last week he was averaging at least 5-6 yards a carry. I think it was actually like 7.5 yards, and he only got 12 carries. I think he's definitely the most talented running back for the Commanders. But the one player I was leaning towards, or if any, at least for purposes of fantasy, was going to be the San Fran defense. They're the second ranked overall. They are projected to have the highest amount of fantasy points this week in terms of all defenses. With respect to Terry McLaurin, I don't know. I just feel like if I am going to touch anything in this game, McCaffrey, I mean, it's just a no-brainer, especially as a fan. It's just so fun to watch him. And if you own him as a fantasy manager, it's just great to see him get as many touches as possible. But otherwise, I wouldn't be very enthusiastic about any of the Commanders this week.
The other game on the